Ravi Padgeji, and I can see our teachers, Dr. S.D. Sharma, joining the webinar. On behalf of the ISRI family, Ravi, welcome to your alma mater.
Thank you.
And we look forward to an opportunity to have you in person at ISRI. Dr. Ansu has already told the achievements of Ravi, and we are proud of his achievements and the way he is carrying forward the CMIT solutions at New Jersey. I would only like to add only one or two words that when he was at ISRI, he was working towards the server solutions and several certifications he has done at that time. And he completed his master's in 1993, Ravi, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
He worked on the topic decision support system for orange growers of Maharashtra under the guidance of Sri Mahesh Kumarji. And the day he had chosen for his talk is very important day. This is the day when new agriculture year starts, 1st July in India. Then today is also the National Doctors Day.
Yeah.
And then on 1st July 2015, Honorable Prime Minister of India decided Digital India program. Therefore, we also celebrate it as a National Digital Day. Therefore, and finally, today is a very auspicious occasion when Rath Yatra from Jagannath Puri starts. Therefore, all days chosen by him are very important ones, and we look forward to his experiences for next 45-50 minutes. Ravi, floor is yours.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that introduction. And I look forward to coming to India whenever, when I visit next time. So with that, let me just start my presentation and then I'll walk you through the details. So let me see if I can share. Let me know if you can see my screen.
You can start.
All right, very good. So I'm just going to, I know I was introduced very well by Dr. Rajendra Prasad as well. So this is how we have been doing. So CMIT Solution is a managed IT services provider. So we have 245 offices throughout US and Canada with around 1,000 engineers. And the goal is to help educate small to medium-sized business. That includes schools, colleges, churches, everything. I'm going to just move on with that. So just a brief, like people ask, what does CMIT do? So CMIT stands for Completely Managed Information Technology Solutions, so CMIT. So we are the proactive managed services. We provide technology solution and strategy. And most of the time we fix technology issues and concerns because not every organization or business has those skills from basic management to cybersecurity penetration testing. When it comes to those, so we provide all those services. And sometimes people confuse what is covered in managed services. So anything which is related to an IT department, like if you look into this circle, anything from server management to email, internet management, problem solving, that all is included in as a part of managed services. And the reason it's important to have a managed services, right? Whether it is an internal IT team, I think more than 77% of organizations run solely on information technology, right? That's their bread and butter. Without data or without processing that information, they cannot survive. And you need a robust IT support for that, right? Most of them, 33% of organizations think that dedicated IT is important to their success, and only 15% have those invested. And that's why we got into the business, what we are doing for providing small to medium-sized business with their IT needs. Like, so today's topic is more on cybersecurity essentials in education and research sector. When we talk about cybersecurity, it's a like vast topic. In last couple of years, the bridge between what I do at work and what I do for my family and personal life, that has narrowed down. And with COVID, where people had an option to work remotely, people use their mobile devices as a main way of communicating, right? So people get their email, work email on their phone. They have to make sure that they separate out their work and private emails. Companies and organizations have to make sure that whatever data is accessed by them is secure and is not misused, not hacked. Because even if a user's desktop phone is hacked, there is a chance that it might then enter into organization, and it will be difficult for someone to manage. So let me just walk you through what's happening in this world. When we define cybersecurity, right? So cybersecurity has a vast definition. You can look at into this is what NIST has defined here in United States. But if you could look at that, it's a simple, right? It's a process of protecting information by preventing, detecting, responding those attacks, right? So making sure that you prevent, identify, prevent, detect, and respond. And that's what every organization needs, right? Whether it's for personal or for organization. And that's what cybersecurity covers. So if you look into just talking about our India and Bharat, Norton has published a report recently, and they said that 18 million. In my presentation, sometimes you will see I try to use crores and lakhs, but somewhere I just kept it with million. But you will get that. So 18 million cyber attacks happened in Q1 in India, right? And they were able. So they used Norton LifeLock. They say that they were able to um, block more than 18 million cyber attacks, and there are around 200,000 threats every day, and most of them are phishing attempts in Q1, and then 30 tech support scams. And I think you must be reading this information more often. Phishing attacks are those emails which are sent to you. They look like real email, but a hacker or a person scammer wants you to use that to lure into getting into what they want to do, right? Either clicking on a link, sending an image, sending a document with some malware, and that's what's happening. And most of the time, you will see that people get email, whether it is for their work or personal. A tech support scam say that, or your system is not working. Click on this, provide me this information, and I'll help you. So that's what's happening. More of this is information recently from India's perspective. Then there was another information released by the Minister of State in Electronics, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, and he said that 2.12 lakh cybersecurity incidents reported, right? So that adds to what we just saw. And this is compared to 14.2 lakh incidents in total 2021. So you just imagine that different organizations are telling. And the problem we have nowadays when we work with the data and technology is that we all don't have enough time, right? So we want everything instant. We want to get it done. We are on social media. We want to get our work done. So the demarcation is being narrowed down, and in that things happen, and that's why cybersecurity is essential when we talk about ISRI, IAR, IARI, ICR as a whole, or agriculture universities. Anything which is related touches agriculture might be impacted, is already impacted. There is a lot of data which is not available. What is available in public, that's what I'm showing to you, right? You saw that a massive outage happened back in October 2020, where the city came to, was put down to his knees, and people started blaming China and this, and it found out that it's an human error. And based on my experience, what we provide at CMIT here and talking to other similar companies who deal with cybersecurity, ultimately it comes down to a human error, right? We left something open. We did not follow the rule. We did not follow the guidance from our IT department. We did not write the IT policies. We use the same password we were not supposed to use for our personal stuff because it's very difficult to remember 10, 15 passwords. So we tend to keep the password same by changing 1 or 2 characters. And that's what happened. Another issue we saw with Air India passengers, right? 2021, the data was stolen. Punjab National Bank, right? 180 million users remains exposed for 7 months. So a statistic says that you will not know until up to 180 days that someone is into your system. Hackers try to learn what you're doing. You won't even know what's happening. And that's why it is scary, but it gives an opportunity to tighten all your access points wherever the data comes and goes out of your work devices, personal devices. Make sure that you keep track of that. And if you don't have those skills, then you work with someone who can help you with that. Another stuff, right? We saw back in February 2021, 500,000 Indian police personal's data was on sale on dark web, right? So dark web is somewhere where you sell data illegally, right? Now, most of the time people say that, oh, what are they going to? I'll just take an example, ISRI. What are people going to do? What does hacker want? So hacker is not interested in your data. Hacker is interested in crumpling your business or your organization so you cannot do business and you pay ransom, so get the data. That's first problem, that they are not after your data. They just want to crumple your business, slow down or not allow you to work with your data or your equipment. And then they will force you to pay ransom. And most of the time they go with government agencies because they know that government can easily pay the ransom. Now, whether it is FBI in USA or CBI, raw agency in India, they will always say, don't pay the ransom. But business and organization have to think that they have to continue their business and they feel pressurized to pay the ransomware so they can get their data back and continue. Now, whatever I am showing you on the screen is the public data which is available to everyone. But most of the time, we don't even know when businesses get attacked, they pay ransom and they move on. But the problem with that is that how do we guarantee that if I got my data back, it will not be sold to anyone else? And that's why cybersecurity or cybersecurity essentials are important. Now, when it comes to agriculture sector, this is in April 2022, right? So this is last month. In US, FBI warns that there are going to be ransomware attacks in agriculture sector. And the reason is that people are buying those sensors or IoT devices, we call Internet of Things. Those devices are mostly plug and play, and they are made easy for people, so they can just plug in. It will get an IP address. You can start monitoring, connect to your system, capture the data and use it. The problem is that if you do not separate those with your primary network, hackers can get easily into the system, right? There was a case in 2019 where one of the casinos or hotels, right? They had a system which was sending sensors, right? So they had aquarium, and the aquarium's temperature and the water temperature was monitored by the sensor, and that sensor was hacked, and hackers got into the system and they put ransom on that hotel chain, right? So casino. We talked about smart farm machinery, right? India is also using a lot of smart machineries. When you work with farmers, as if from those who work in agriculture sector, for them it's important that the farmers or the agencies will come down to you for asking for help. Making sure that those devices are secured is very important, right? Agriculture cooperatives are being targeted, right? They are making sure that they just want to disrupt their operations so they can get paid on that. Now you also heard about this one. I think this was last year. The Institute of Microbial Technology was attacked, right? Indian Academy of Sciences in Bengaluru was attacked. Website linked to Benares Hindu University. Now this was published by a cybersecurity agency we have not seen much details, but this is all public information which is available. And most of the time you will find out that there is an IT team which is responsible for managing and securing them. But sometimes you have to keep up to date, right? Sometimes people say that I don't have time, don't update my systems. We are working on a critical project. We have something to deliver. If you are in education sector, classes are going on, I don't want it to interrupt. Can you push the updates to weekend, move it to holidays? And that's when the opportunity for hackers to get into the system. So when it comes to critical infrastructure, I have highlighted the education, research, and innovation, right? So this is this picture was published by sectiro.com. They have offices in Mumbai also. So they published a paper, Is India Up for a Major Cybersecurity Overhaul? So they have listed what's happening in the world because they work in many other countries. And if you look into that here, sitting in US, I work with public sector, I work with government agencies and try to share that information. And we found out that people who get attacked, they are not open to share that information. For example, if something happens in another ICR center, they should freely share that information with universities nearby or other center, because the more you share, the better that system gets and you can help each other secure. And education and research and innovation is a big deal because that's where most of the money is invested, and hackers know that they can disrupt their business and not let you do the research. So when we talk about that, it starts with us, right? Whosoever is on this call and those who could not attend will watch later. We have to secure more, right? If you had asked me 15, 20 years ago, it would have been a different, right? We did not have the fast internet, mobile devices, multiple devices. So talk about, when you talk about an organization, network, mobile devices, email systems, multiple software programs, their updates, business applications, right? Dealing with accounting, finance, any documents which we relate, right? Human resources document, employee informations, their salary information. There are tons of things which we need to protect, and it's not an easy task. And as a employee, as a citizen, it's my responsibility that I protect my devices, and wherever I work, whether I work for an organization, I help protect their devices by following the rule and not taking shortcuts to get my work done. So when we talk about like security threats, right? So there are tons of threats, right? It's an ID theft, right? People work there, they will bring USB device, get the data, steal information. So we have to be very careful of those. Okay, we talk about uh, a user error, right? People say that, oh, I used it, I gave my password to someone else, which I am not supposed to do. I shared the information. I knew that he or she was my friend, but they did not understand the intention. So those are the security threats for organizations like us. There are phishing scam. People sign up for a lot of things. They get an email. On computer, at least you can use your mouse and scroll over who is the sender. But if you are using that mobile device, it's very difficult to find out whether that email is real or not. And that's where people fall to the phishing scams. Then there are malwares, right? You Google something, you find some links, you think that that's the thing I want, you click on something, and you realize that malware is installed. There was a case happened in I think last to last week, where people were looking for employees. The human resources asked for resume. A PDF was, I think, a Word document was sent by someone. The human resources person tried to click on the Word document. It did not work. She continued with her work, thinking that she will do. She came back after some time. It says that your Word is not up to date. Click here to update the Word. But she realized that, oh, that's not my responsibility to Word. My IT department takes care of it. But I will check with someone else who has that. At that time, when that employee clicked on that Word document, a malware was already, a payload was already installed by clicking that. Now the hacker had access to her data without her knowledge. and the hacker was watching all what she was doing. So those are the things which happened with malware, and we have to be very careful. And then the last thing is what we call legacy systems, right? The old systems which are not compatible, but as an organization, we cannot get rid of. Do those legacy system need access, free access to internet? Can they be just used in a secure location on a different network? Those are critical informations which we need to take care as a technology support person. All right, so those are the things. So now if you look into the ransomware cost, right, this is last year, 78% of Indian organizations were hit with the ransomware. And if you read this one, 9.4 crore, right? Average ransomware paid in 2021 in total in 2021, right? Now we don't know. There is tons of other organizations which paid the ransomware. We don't know. People move on, but it's I think Indian government is now forcing that those who gets attacked, they have to share that information with local authority or the local cybersecurity cells. They should share that information so other business can be made aware and they can protect themselves. So what are the common cybersecurity mistake people make, right? When we are just talking about, and I have toned down this information so we can make sure that we understand. The first mistake people make is that they write down their password because someone says, okay, I'm going to use a sticky note, notepad or somewhere. I'll put a sticky note under my keyboard, and they tend to write down the password. That's a bad idea, right? You should be able to tell your employees, or as a you should start using. There are tools available. You can use password managers. There are free available. As an organization, we should be providing our employees a password manager, so they just remember one main password and they don't have to keep on remembering the other application passwords. So make sure that your employees don't write their passwords and which are easily visible to everyone. Bad idea. Okay. Now here is the stuff, right? People always ask us, right? So I don't know who is the owner of this particular stuff. So I just saw it on LinkedIn. So people used to say, I want 6 characters, it's easy to remember. People say that I'm going to use my date of birth, my family's date of birth, my kids date of birth, marriage anniversary, something like that. So look at this chart, and since this is recorded, you can watch it rare. So a standard is that up to 12 characters or 12 numbers, a system can guess that password in 12 seconds. So as you complicate your password by using uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, you are increasing your chances of not getting that password hacked. Now, it's important for an organization, if someone is using, example, icr.in email address, organization should be running a dark web scan for all their employees and see whose access is available in dark web. If it's not available, if it's available, make sure that employees of that organization change their password. And there are some standards which we should follow. Second thing is outdated operating system. So 2020, right? So it has been a while since Microsoft says that get rid of Windows 7. We still see Windows 7 still running. And if you look around in India, there are tons of applications which are still running on Windows 7 because people say that, oh, I don't have option to upgrade the system. It is going to be very costly. Yes, if it is possible to and not possible to upgrade the system and you still want to run something on Windows 7, make sure that that Windows system is separate from your network. It is on its own network, so you can get your work done, but it should not have any communication to any even printers. Printers are again biggest culprit where hackers can get into. Okay. Then making sure that softwares are updated, right? How many times we get a browser? I have seen, I go to my client site, my technicians keep on telling me that I went there and users have an update needed on Chrome browser, and it has been there for a couple of days and they say we don't have time. Google made that life easy. Now, if you have 18 tabs open, you can still update your browser to the latest version and it will bring back all those tabs. Many times people fear that, oh, I will have to start again. I've seen my daughter, she has 18 tabs open. I ask her, why you have 18 tabs open? Oh, I don't have to remember everything. But that's when the problem starts. That's called the 0 day. By the time Google, Firefox, Microsoft knew that something is happening and they provide the fix, if as a user we don't update the system, that gives the opportunity for hacker to get into the system. And that's why we have to make sure that your system is up to date. If you have a firewall, make sure that it is up to date. If you have a Windows, Mac, or any other operating system, make sure that it is up to date. This is for personal as well as work. And get rid of outdated equipment if it's possible, because if it's not possible, hackers know that the manufacturer is not going to provide any updates, and that's when things hackers get into the system. Make sure that if an employee leaves and finds another job, leaves and goes somewhere else, make sure that the human resources and IT department work together to get rid of. If you have an old printer, make sure that you wipe up all the data before you throw out or donate it. Make sure that your old computers, the data can be wiped out, right? Because that's where people can happen. But when it comes to an employee, make sure that you have an IT policy, right? This is what we tell small to medium sized business, because not employee is capable of changing the password every 30 days. So 90 days is a good way for enforcing. So force them, if they did not log in for 90 days, their account should be locked down. They should not be allowed to even change password without reaching out to IT department to reset, because there has to be reason why they did not sign in for 90 days. If it was a medical emergency, yes, understood, but everything must be documented. And password managers are a good way to keep track of it. Then there are other things what we just talked about. We need to know about ransomware, right? So first thing is that I said malicious software, right? Those are the biggest culprit. We don't even know. We click on that nowadays. If you are looking for something, and if you click on an image, because most of the time we spend on internet, either researching, searching for something, or doing just business, one thing leads to another. We click on an image, that image could have a malicious software which can install. So if you don't have a ransomware protection software on your computers, there is a way for the hackers to get in. And by the time, if you are using McAfee and Norton, if it is not a real-time update, then there is where the hacker can get into the system. Then second thing is that this is what the statistics keeps on changing. It used to be 14 every 14 seconds in 2019. It came down to 11 seconds in 2021, and it could be less than 5-10 seconds, because the amount of devices we are using, there is a chance that people will look for opportunity to hack. Okay. So we have to put those technical safeguards in, right? So have a good antivirus software. You should have the reporting. If you are using for personal, you have a phone and a computer. Most of the time you will have automatic update. Make sure that nothing breaks. So make sure that your antivirus software is up to date. Make sure that you have a firewall. If you are not using on premises and you are using a public airport and everything, make an habit of using an VPN kind of software when you are using public Wi-Fi locations, because they are providing a free Wi-Fi, so it's not in their interest what you're doing. So using an VPN, there are tons of solutions available. If you are connecting to your work, make sure that you have VPN all the time. If you don't remember, there are tools like SGN available where you can disable it for half an hour if you want doing something, but it should come back automatically, so you don't have to remember. And make sure that you have good spam filters. Work with your IT department or technical person to understand what spam filters you need to update. And then the last thing is an employee. When I say train employee, it's important for us to understand what is my role. When I come to work at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, what's my job? I'm working for this organization. What are my responsibilities? What should I be doing? Am I using the same email address which I use at work to go and buy tickets from for online, use it for Zomato or other services? We are not supposed to use that, but people think that, oh, I can just use it's not my personal, but you have to keep track what employees are using, what IDs are using. So dark web monitoring is important, and that's when the training comes into picture. And if we usually encourage our businesses every 3 months, we send a phishing simulated attack. If they click on something, they are forced to do some watch video. Make sure that they don't click. We send them warning. So if they are there to work on business, it should be just focus on business. And then provide your employees with an example. How does an hacking email looks like? How does an ransomware email looks like? How does a simulated phishing email looks like? So when they look at it, they should be aware that they should not be clicking on something. And I always tell them, when in doubt, just forward that email to your IT department. They should have a separate email mailbox that should be using. And moreover, those who are in IT department, those who work very close to secure data and they have admin privileges, they should not be using the same email address or same ID to log on as an administrator. We always encourage them to have a what you call alias email address or a totally separate email address to do their business, and everything else should be used by different email address, and that should be in the norm which we should follow. So make sure that you are using if you are responsible for IT department and on IT, make sure that you use a separate ID to do the administration work and separate ID for your everything else related to your day-to-day work. Make sure that you identify the roles, right? So if I'm in HR department and now I moved into some other department, I should not be allowed to carry my access, right? So limit permission. That's where nowadays, if you think about data, you will hear zero trust, right? I'm doing here for small business development corporations. I have implemented zero trust. So we don't trust any device which comes into accessing their data because a lot of sensitive information is there. So if someone wants to use their personal device, we want to record their MAC devices. We want to make sure that only those devices are available. If they bring their personal devices, we provide them Wi-Fi access, but they don't have access to anything. If they want to print something, they go on a total separate network and a separate printer. They should not have access to any of the devices. Even if someone is visiting from other division, if they get access, they should not have access to the sensitive information. So making sure that you list those permissions and don't allow anyone to access. And that's a responsibility as a person, as a citizen, that we should make sure that we limit the access and don't share information. And then define the retention parameter, right? How long you need the data. If someone says that, oh, I need access to a specific data for my research, I need access to specific data where I'm helping someone, make sure that you're there. I don't know in IRI or ICR if there are any regulations we need to follow, but if there are some regulations which we have to follow for Government of India, make sure that we are compliant with those regulations, who has access to what data, and make sure that you always do the disaster drill. And when it comes to encryption, right, make sure that the data, right, and most of the people know, if you had purchased an Android phone or iPhone, they ask you, they give an option that you can have your own private access MAC address, so they can limit tracking of the data. How many of us go back and look at what data is been tracked? Even if I am an IT department, how much time I have to go and look what my employees are going through and tracking the data. Most of the time you will hear that you are talking, if you have a smart TV at home or at work, you're talking on something and suddenly you start getting the advertisement, right? So we are tracked every time. We have to go back and look at what are my privacy settings. Am I allowing only when I'm using that application, or I am giving them the free reign of that information? Yes, that's important, so we can get a targeted marketing done, so it can save time. But how much data you want to share, right? Those who do credit card processing, PCI compliance is important. So that's what is a responsibility. So if you look into the best practices when it comes, right? If you have a data, whether you have a personal computer, make sure that you regularly back up, because it's not if it will happen, but it's when, right? So are you prepared? And make sure your data integrity is there so you don't lose the data. Make sure that you focus on awareness. Make sure that you patch your operating system, right? There are firmware updates which are needed. Make sure that you update. If you cannot do it, make sure that you work with your IT department and get it done. If it is your personal device, make sure that you use weekend to update, right? Most of them are auto update, I mentioned to you, right? And always provide least privilege. Even like the computer which I have, I'm using, I'm administrator, but when I logged in, I did not log in as an admin on this computer, because whenever I'm doing my business, I don't need an admin ID. If I need to install something, I will always prompt it to give me the admin privileges, and then I continue installation. And same thing for network, right? You might have seen in last 2 years, if you are using Microsoft Office, they by default are disabling the macro scripts, because hackers were using macro scripts, which are mostly Visual Basic based, to do. So now you have to enable. If you are getting an email, the images are disabled. There is a reason to disable. Make sure that you by default don't enable the images. Look at that. If you need it, use that. Use a spam filter to look at those emails before you let them come to your inbox. Make sure that you whitelist, right? So whitelisting that application. So if I'm getting, I should by default be blocking those devices. A good example is that I got a call from one of my clients, and they are working using an outsider human resources company, and the domain start with .solutions. Now .solutions is by default blocked because it's not a standard one. So we have to whitelist that domain or that URL so that it's allowed, because we don't want someone to use, because it's not commonly used. Hackers know that if it is whitelisted, they can use it, but you have to strictly monitor that. And make sure there is a physical and logical separations of networks, right? So you should separate it out, create virtual LANs. Even if you are at home, if your kids are on using games, separate. If you work from home, separate your network, right? It's easy to separate the network, and make sure that you are separated from when you're using accessing any data related to your work. And make sure that user interaction, right? What user interaction means is that every time you log on, make sure that it's prompt for them to either send a 6-digit code like the OTP or one-time password, or some form of authentication when they are going for online assets. Okay. So the key to take away from this is that make sure that whether it's email, your records, whether you are using virtual machines, whether you are using, if you are in agriculture selling, like working with storefronts, you are using some software to build the relationship, everything, make sure that you are using the right technology partner. When I say right technology partner, means the data, who is backing up your data, what hardware you are using. There are tons of hardware which is cheaply available. Will they work when time comes? Will they be able to support that? That's very important. And make sure that your data is up to date. Okay. So when it comes to that, these are the four, like when we talk about that. Um, Managing an IT is not an easy task, right? Because we have time. So that's one of the goal which, as a technology, we focus on that. And you have to protect what matters, right? When we are those who are on the call, the data is more important, right? So where the data resides and how we process the data and information, that's why. So we have to protect that, right? Which, so if you are working for an agriculture university or a center, research center, make sure that you are protecting your data. We are under constant threat, right? There is, people are looking for opportunities. How many times we have run into that? And you can work with your IT provider. Are there open ports? If there are open ports on your network, why they are there? And what is the reason, right? So every quarter, every month, every week, you should, IT department should be there, and IT should be simplified so people don't have to like spend hours or get. So that's what the reason for starting CMIT was that we protect the data, defend the network, and we want to make sure that we empower people. And I think that's what the cybersecurity comes into picture. Dr. Rendra Prasad sir, I think this is where I wanted to just give a hands-on. There are tons of things which we can go when it comes to data, when it comes to our agriculture sector. We can go into depth when we talk about technology used in our system, education, and everything. I just wanted to give a highlight that as a user, what we can do to protect ourselves, right? Following those standard best practices. I think that's where it comes. I will open up for any discussions, questions, answers.
Thank you, Ravi. Let's give a big hand to Ravi for a nice exposition on a topic which is of interest to each one of us on personal as well as professional front. We can interact with Ravi for any clarifications or suggestions or questions we have.
Anything,
Yes.
any challenges, personal challenges with IT, organizational challenges, wherever I can help out, at least answer your questions. If not, I can always, you can follow up with me and I can help you. But we still have another 15, 16 minutes, so I can help you answer any questions.
Yes, let's begin with Dr. Alka.
So it's very nice presentation. You have covered most of the things. We have, like sir told, we have now our data center also, and we are having the certifications on the data center, whether it is ICR data center we are having, and the disaster recovery center also. But at the same time, I'd like to know, when you have mentioned, because due to COVID, a lot of work is being done now from the home, especially the child education, as well as we are taking lots of meeting from the home itself. So what are the precautions on the personal devices we should take?
So I think that's a very good question. And I think this is what was the biggest challenge during COVID. So if you are using a device from home and it's not a work device, right? A laptop which is not provided, or you are using your phone for making those calls, make sure that every other application is shut down before you are making those calls, because you don't know what you have running in background, right? You can leave your email, texting is fine, okay, but there are a lot of stuffs which comes, you don't know if someone can get into your system because you have a WhatsApp running in the background, right, or something running in the background. So making sure that your softwares are up to date, right? If you are using Zoom on your phone, Zoom, I think in last 30 days, there were, I think, 2 updates which were pushed to the devices, right? Do you have that up to date, right? Making sure that it is up to date. And now it depends on the region, right? So I'm talking more on the US side, the updates were sent, but if it was also sent in the India center, make sure that those updates are done. If you are using a laptop or something, make sure that that connection is secure. If you are using a public Wi-Fi, to make those calls, make sure that the device is on a proper network and secure before you connect, right? So now when I say secure, making sure that the applications which you are using are up to date, right? Those are things which we can do from the personal devices, because I'm using a personal computer which is shared by my family. I cannot let that control by my, like people have said that, oh, for privacy reason, I don't want my office to install anything. Give me the option to connect. But making sure that when you are using that application to connect to your work related, make sure that it is secure and it is protected, right? So how do we do that? Making sure that even for the browsers, right? There are antivirus softwares you can do. There are what we call DNS protections, which are available even for home users. You can install those software on your phone. My phone, even though I trust the phone companies, my VPN, I call it SGN. It's a software-based VPN connection where I can disable it. When I go to the bank wants to know my location. So I disable it for half an hour. When I am done with my work, it automatically enable, right? So those are the tools which are available for every users, which can be used to protect. If you have a good network connections, buy a small router for your home and separate your work from your family, right? So you get the better connection to your work and let family, right? All they are doing is on social media. They don't need the full bandwidth, right? So work with someone who can help you separate that, or you can do on your own. Put them on a separate network, put them a slow bandwidth, and you get the full bandwidth. So people, when you are on a call, they get the best experience, you being on a call as a remote user, right? How many times you see that people are trying to speak and the video just slows down? Okay, you're not able to see. So those things can be avoided by separating those networks. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy thing, but if you have a good network, it can be easily be done. But if not, then shut down all the application. If you are using a computer to connect to Zoom, shut down all the browsers, leave only one browser you need, because if you go to Task Manager, if you open a Chrome, you will see 13 instances of Chrome in Task Manager, even though you had open one, because many years ago, people complained that Chrome browser is not a efficient one. So they started multi-threading. So it's a memory hogger. So it will take processes and take memory. Do we really need when you are on Zoom? Maybe you just need one session open, or best one is to install the Zoom app. So those are the things which you can do to protect when it comes to when you are remote, and making sure that you are not accessing anything related to work or network file shares. If you are not on a secure network, just stop there. Make sure that you are on a secure network before you connect, and it should be enforced to be on VPN to access anything related to work. Did that help, Alka?
Yeah, I was thinking, means this information is definitely beneficial, but considering Indian scenario, as far as even I am concerned, whenever we are using the personal laptops, or so we are not even bothered about having a, you can say, antivirus software or basic things basically, and the licensed softwares. So I think we have to be very careful, considering these threats are increasing in future.
Exactly.
So we have to take,
Yeah.
इसमें
No, very
change
well
कर
said.
देना
Yeah, very well said. The reason
ग्लास
is
में ले रहे हैं धोख लिया
yeah, the reason, Alka, is that when it comes to personal, right? It's okay if we don't have up-to-date antivirus and you're using for personal, because there's nothing much at stake, right? But when you're using for work related, using a personal device, we are putting everyone else in my organization at risk by not following the rules, right? So that's where the problem starts, right? People think, oh, it's nothing going, I'm just going to use it. I have access. I'm using a SharePoint. I'm going through the browser. But if your browser is not secure, the computer is not secure, that's when the organization, and it's okay. Like, so as an employee, the worst thing will happen, they will fire me, or I'll be let go from the company. But think about other employees, right? I put their life at risk, right? So that's why we have to be very careful, and it's our responsibility to protect ourselves, our family, and the organization we work for.
Thank you, Ravi.
You're welcome.
Very nice talk given by
Chaturvedi.
Yeah. It's always pleasure to have an alumni in our board, and I'm really feeling very happy. And I'm just having few doubts or other clarification regarding one thing, that regarding the payment gateway, and people are using, and even the mobile devices, we are all making the payments through the online and through the website, or through the web application, also a mobile application as well. And how to make sure that, okay, these things are not going to be compromised, or my card or the banking details are not going to be compromised. And one more aspect related to this PCI compliance. Okay, so can you highlight some of the things related to this, so that we can make our mobile app or the web PCI compliance enabled, so that the people will not compromise their security?
Right. So now it's very good question. Let's talk about PCI, and then I'll come to the personal device payment. Right. So when it comes to PCI, most of the organization who are using to process credit card or online payment, they are not now requiring a quarterly scan. They call external scan, right? So you have to be compliant, and if you are not compliant, they can impose fine on you until you are compliant, right? So there are tons of device and tons of things you can do, right? Most of the time I get a question from businesses, oh, we don't store anything, we are not processing anything, everything is in the cloud, why do I have to worry? But the company who is providing you the service says where it is originating. So the originating device is at your premises, right? On whether it is ISRI or some location, that device has to be protected. It's originating there from there. And if that's not secure, it doesn't matter where you are storing that processing the credit card information. So how do we do that, right? Making sure that the gateway or the system, you have a good firewall, right? You can use any firewall. It doesn't have to be a very expensive firewall. You can go with a sonic wall, or you can go with what we call the freeware, as long as you have control on that, right? And installing a SSL certificate, so everything goes through secure, right? So that's one of the requirement of PCI compliance, that you have a SSL service. And then they will also ask about that, is that whosoever is processing that data, right, and that premises, right, they look at the IP address of that organization. What are that one? So you have to certify that those organization people don't have access to other data. So it's like a honor system. As an IT, you have to certify that trust you, that you are making sure that the data is secure and people don't have unnecessarily access to the devices, right? So right now it's in 3.x version or 3.1 version. They have not put enforcement on the password, but in 4.1 it's still in a work in progress. They are going to enforce that the passwords and everything will be checked when it comes to PCI compliance. So you have to be compliant throughout every year, and you have to be scan compliant every quarter. That is the requirement here. I don't know in India, but I think if the PCI standards are same, it should be the same thing. So when it comes to personal, right, whether you are using Paytm and everything, see, the Paytm is a secure application, no doubt about it. That the problem comes is that it's my device. I find something that my friend something on WhatsApp and says, hey, download this application. I want to watch free movies. I go and download something. That's when the problem comes, because it's not the Paytm, but what apps you have. If you look at your phone, do you have an application which you have not used for more than 3 months? Does it have to be on your phone? Delete it. You can always install, right? People don't tend to update it more often, and they tend on because it's free available. Why not just use it, right? Everyone does it, and that's when problem starts. So enforcing. So we provide, if we are providing something, we offer as a service what we call mobile device management. So we protect that if an employee says, I need a work email on my phone, they have to accept the mobile device management service. So we force, but you cannot do it for your personal stuff, right? So, but you can buy the service where if something phone gets stolen, you can go online and track. You can always track of that devices, but making sure that you don't have what we call free applications installed on your phone and still using the online payment system, because payment system gateway will guarantee that it is secure, but they don't know what other application. And Google Store is notorious on that. They don't check. Apple is very good at making sure what applications go onto their store, but Google is not. And that's why people like Android system, because there's no restriction. And if you can avoid getting rid of those applications which are not supposed to be on your system, I think you can trust Paytm or any other system and not worry about that. But making sure keeping track of your transactions, right? Checking that is important. Most of the time we are on auto pay, right? So yeah, it got, we rarely say. We only get alerted when something goes wrong, and that's not a good way of running personal life as well as work life.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think you have clarified my all of the doubts. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
but if you have any question related to PCI,
Supplements.
feel free
Yeah.
to pick my brain.
Yeah, sure. I will. Thank you.
We have a couple more minutes. Anything else?
Yeah, one more question, one more interaction we can allow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anyone? Students? Students don't have any question.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about students, right? So I'll just take an IRI an example, right?
Yeah.
Most of them, right? So we provide a service, or I don't know if IRI is providing. Where are the classes? What are the available? I don't know if we use any device to share what you call Blackboard or something like devices, right? So that those devices or those mediums to share that information has become common. Making sure that a student who is not supposed to be needing that access is monitored is very important, right? Devices are for Wi-Fi. Do I have a good enough Wi-Fi to provide that best experience to the students? Making sure that those devices are secure. If someone says that I want to use and access those, even as a student, are we making sure that they are getting the secure access? And if they want to use those devices, that's where I'm right now working with an university. It's a private university, and that's their requirement, right? Suddenly people do ad hoc, what you call audit courses. They were alumni, they want to come. How do we separate them from the regular students? And that's what we are helping with their challenge. So those are the things which we should keep in mind when it comes to student. As a student, yes, I'm not going to misuse the information, but I still want university to provide me that information so we get the best of both sides.
That's great. We are using only at present Microsoft Team or Zoom or Google Meet for taking classes. And of course, now in a National Agriculture Research and Education System, we are developing one Agri Diksha web education channel as well.
Nice.
But of course, yes, the points raised by you are pertinent and have to be taken care of while providing these services.
Definitely, yeah, and we call quarterly reviews.
Yeah.
We should always be reviewing quarterly what's happening with IT, what are the challenges, and making sure that we provide the best experience to our users. I think that's the goal.
Any one quick question before we close for the day, because it's already 1:30 a.m. for Ravi.
Well, it has been pleasure presenting this, but I think if opportunity comes where I can deep dive into anything, or if you give a feedback to Dr. Rajendra Prasad sir or anyone here, any concerns you have, I will be happy to do another sessions anytime in next few months.
Thank you, Ravi.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Exposition. This was really required, and I had been waiting for this for last 1.5 years. In between, their COVID created problems, and we could not do it. But at last, we could have this interaction, and this was much needed at this time. And this will at least inculcate or force us, some of us, to think on the security aspects. Thank you very much for being with us during your late night. Originally, Ravi actually offered at 9 a.m. and we know that we don't open at 9 a.m. That's why I requested him that let's start at 10 a.m. Indian time.
I could have done late afternoon also, because there are some businesses which run 24/7, so some things come up. So I have spent nights also, so I can accommodate. But I appreciate that.
Thank you for being so generous. Over to Ansu.
So it has been a really very informative session, which is very practically useful for each one of us, because these days nobody can go without using a software or a mobile or an online meeting system or software. So on behalf of ISRI, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Ravi Badge, from the bottom of our heart, because this is a very, very apt moment for this kind of an informative lecture or informative communication that he has conveyed to each one of us. And we really appreciate that we may have another session with him. Definitely, Mr. Badke, we would be looking forward to another session with you. I would really thank our ex-director, Dr. S.D. Sharma, and I could see Dr. Bhatia also and others who have joined us. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the students and the faculty who have joined here. Thank you very much, our director, Dr. Raj Prashad, who could manage this lecture, because as we already said that it has been really informative and eye-opening also. There are very small things which we don't understand and to which we do not give any weightage, but after this lecture we can understand that they're very, very important to take care of. So thank you very much, and with this I would close this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At the end,
Namaskar.
Ravi, just want to share that tomorrow is Institute's Foundation Day,
I know, yeah.
July. Therefore, this lecture has been arranged on the eve of Foundation Day of the Institute.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm very fortunate to be part of this event, and I thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Ansu,
you.
we can
Thank
close the
you.
meeting.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.